Hi everyone, I'm Pam Allenstein, Plant Collections Network Manager at the Association. The Association's Professional Citation Award recognizes the significant achievements in public horticulture of an association member who has excelled in one of the disciplines generally associated with public gardens, such as botany, horticulture, gardening, conservation, research, education, extension, development, or administration. Recipients may be at the early to midpoint of their prestigious career. More importantly, the nominee should embody great skills, innovation, and potential. Since joining UBC Botanical Garden in 2014, this year's awardee has expanded the garden's education and outreach programs exponentially, and with them, the profile of the garden. Her important work has resulted in significant garden-based programming, frequent peer-reviewed publication, and wide-reaching community engagement related to conservation of natural resources, safeguarding global biodiversity, and the preservation of human culture and knowledge at local, national, and international scales. The American Public Gardens Association is pleased to present Dr. Tara Moreau with this year's professional citation. Congratulations, Tara.
Hello everyone, I'm Jamie Riccio, Member Development Manager at the American Public Gardens Association, and I will be your staff representative during this virtual conference session. Before we begin, here are a couple of tips to get the most out of your virtual conference experience. First, if you are experiencing poor video or audio quality, we suggest closing other programs on your computer, especially other browser tabs. Your inbox will still be there at the end of the session, I promise. If you have any other problems or questions, association staff are available to help. Give us a call at 610-708-3010 or send us an email at info@publicgardens.org. Second, while this session has been pre-recorded, the presenters are here with us today as panelists and will be happy to take questions in the live question and answer portions of the session. At some point during this session, the presenters may activate a poll. Poll responses are anonymous, so be sure to let us know how you really feel. Finally, you can submit your questions using Zoom's Q&A function that you will find in your Zoom toolbar. Questions can be submitted anonymously. You can also upvote other questions to indicate you would like to hear them answered. We will try to answer as many questions as we can during the live Q&A portion of this session. Some questions may be answered directly through the Q&A feature. Thank you and enjoy today's session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on our panel today to talk about increasing access and diversity at your garden through your membership program. Today's presenters are Heather Popio from Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens, Britt Patterson-Weber and Kara Laufer from Naples Botanical Garden, Lynn Bates and Wendy Deming from Marie Selby Botanical Gardens, Leslie Myers from Atlanta Botanical Garden, and I'm Lori Boxstans with the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center. Let's just jump right in here. What is an Access membership program, and why might your garden want one? Well, inherently, membership is a club. And as membership managers and directors, you've likely spent years curating your membership program, crafting those levels and benefits to be just right, to draw in those members and create that sense of belonging and exclusivity as a means to increase your household counts. But the flip side of that exclusivity coin is exclusion, and it might begin to affect your garden negatively. You may notice that your garden looks more homogeneous over the years, or you're hearing anecdotes from senior members on a limited income that they can no longer afford your membership after you implement a price increase or restructure your member benefits and levels. Or maybe you're just noticing that you're not serving your whole community or your immediate community. And if you attended last year's annual conference, you might recall that the theme was based around this concept of IDEA, which is to create a more inclusive, diverse, equitable, and accessible environment. And if we look at our gardens through that filter, we realize that we can, and indeed should, welcome all persons to our gardens to create a more open and representative experience with learning, health, and wellness opportunities for all. But before we delve into the details of our presentation, let's pause for a quick poll. So our first poll is, do you have an Access membership program at your garden? And for our second poll, we'll be asking, what is your biggest barrier to reaching a wider, underserved audience? So after last year's annual conference, I came back to the Wildflower Center inspired to create a membership program that would increase diversity and access. And so I began really researching different ways that gardens and museums alike are implementing this. And so here's a few examples of what I found. Direct to public, where the memberships are sold directly to the general public, is an implementation tool that Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens is using. Community partnerships is being utilized by both Naples and Marie Selby Botanical Gardens. And Atlanta Botanical Garden is employing government or municipal partnerships. And once we learn about these ways, you may want to develop a program that serves your garden and your specific needs, and perhaps implement more than one of these methods, like we're doing at the Wildflower Center. So let's start with direct to public. Here's Heather from Franklin Park.
Thank you, Lori, for that great introduction. My name is Heather Popio, and I'm the Director of Operations for Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens. We're located in Columbus, Ohio, where the metro area population is just over 2.1 million. Our property is 13 acres, and we're located inside of an 88-acre city park, and we care for the entire property. We see about 370,000 visitors annually, and since opening our Scott's Miracle Grow Foundation Children's Garden 2 years ago, those visitors have heavily trended toward families with young children. About half of our attendees are members, and many come multiple times per week to play in the children's garden water features. We have about 12,000 member households, including 805 Access family members. Our Access family membership was created more than 10 years ago, but really came to the forefront as we opened our children's garden. Our park is located just outside of downtown within a diverse neighborhood. Our desire was to have our neighbors enjoy the park, as well as feel welcome and have a true sense of belonging there. We did use 2 partner agencies to promote our Access membership to their constituents, but most of our sales have been driven by word of mouth and the outreach events that we do in the community. In order to qualify, our members need to participate in any of these listed assistance programs. And although we had a lot of discussion, around sensitivity to the requirement for those folks to prove their participation in these programs, we haven't had any issues with it, and we're trained our front desk staff to handle the transaction with a high degree of sensitivity. Our price is $35 for a family, and now about 7% of our member households are Access memberships. In the last 4 years, we've seen about a 450% increase in this membership category, and we're pleased with how it fits within the context of our larger set of Access initiatives. The majority of these Access memberships are sold at the front desk, and we provide our visitor experience associates with an incentive program to sell the memberships. Our other most successful Access initiative is our library membership program. In the 3 library branches closest to our park, we have family memberships available to check out for 2 days at a time. These are popular with a wide range of guests, and we're currently determining the best way to expand the program. The other Access program that we will be rolling out within the next few months is our participation in the Museums for All initiative through IMLS. I know some of our other panelists will be discussing Museums for All, and we're very excited to include this in our Access offerings.
Thanks, Lori and Heather. Hi, everyone. I'm Kara Loffer. I'm the Director of Community Relations for Naples Botanical Garden in Naples, Florida. Our garden is a relatively young institution. We have a growing member, donor, and visitation base. Our 170-acre property is tucked in a working-class neighborhood just 3 miles from downtown Naples, Florida, which is one of the wealthiest zip codes in the country. Yet within a couple miles of our garden are not 1, but 2 Title I elementary schools.
Hi, I'm Britt. I'm the Director of Education at the Garden. So we conducted audience research in 2018, and the findings showed that our visitors are not reflective of our community. For example, census data tells us that more than a quarter of Collier County residents identify as Hispanic or Latino, yet they make up just 5% of our visitors. And the research also indicated that we have few families visiting the garden, and the mean income of our visitors is far higher than most of the county. So what you will find in the county is almost a third of families are ALICE households. ALICE is a United Way acronym for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. Collier County has a large service sector, so those working in landscaping, tourism, and hospitality, for example. Working families who are just one unexpected car repair away from not being able to pay rent. That is an ALICE household. So for this audience, we know that cost is a barrier to visiting the garden. And while we do provide field trip admission waivers for students from Title I schools, that is not enough. There is a nationwide program coordinated by IMLS called Museums for All. The program offers free or extremely reduced admission to holders of SNAP or food assistance benefits cards. So the garden began a conversation with United Way 2 years ago, sharing with them our goals to engage new audiences. And United Way was really excited to work with us and brought in some of their partner agencies into the conversations about this pilot program. Through these conversations, though, we realized that using just the SNAP card for entry to the garden wasn't quite the right thing to do. For one, we would miss a lot of families that way, and we would have no way of communicating with card holders. So over the course of a year, we developed and launched Garden for All, a free membership program. And you can see how critical United Way was in the development of this program, as we even incorporated their logo into Garden for All's logo.
Interest from other groups was there, but in order to keep the pilot project manageable, Garden for All participation was by invitation only through United Way. The Garden for All membership benefits were designed to generously accommodate extended families, and members are issued the same orange membership cards that our traditional family-level membership uses. Nothing different to see at ticketing. United Way committed to fund most of the launch event expenses. The garden covered printing and agency training costs leading up to the launch, and will continue to seek grant funding and other funding sources as the program grows. In developing the project internally, leadership included directors from 2 different departments, education and development. In developing the project internally, leadership included directors from 2 different departments, education and development. While this helped bridge cross-departmental communication, it became clear that buy-in from all garden staff was critical for successful program launch. Many staff didn't understand why, quote unquote, we were giving away family memberships. We held special internal staff meetings and department trainings were held. We also shared information with volunteers and board members. Continued training and updates are critical to keep the frontline staff and others on board and for the garden to truly be for all.
This past October, we officially opened the program with a celebratory launch day at the garden. In the months before that, though, we held a lunch and learn about the program and the garden for partner agency staff on our site. After all, the partner agency staff are the trusted faces for the families that we wish to reach, and they needed to understand why someone would want to visit the garden. And we also needed their help checking in families for launch day and registering families for memberships. So for launch day, families RSVP to their partner agencies, which we needed in advance as United Way generously sponsored lunch. And lunch was important too, to make this first experience with the garden a headache-free one. In the end, over 900 people came to launch day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And as of now, we have 405 member households in the program. As for accountability, we are a member of Museums for All, so we submit quarterly attendance reports, and we do report on card usage to our board. But it's important to note that although Museums for All served as inspiration for our program, we took the program further to fit our needs.
Each winter, our population grows significantly as seasonal residents and vacationers arrive. Many Garden for All families work in the hospitality industry, as we mentioned, which provides services for this influx of people. Season is a difficult time for working families to find meaningful leisure activities, but during summer, seasonal demands subside. There's more time to enjoy activities together, such as visiting the garden. Our Garden for All families make up 3% of our overall membership households, and around 514 visits took place since October by Garden for All families. This represents a mere fraction of our seasonal visitation. And for now, all Garden for All memberships have been extended until 2021. As we prepare for reopening, re-engaging this group will be a priority, and new reporting protocols are in place to capture much needed usage data. Recent communication with partner agencies has been a challenge because they are working on meeting basic needs for these families. But they have committed to sharing reopening messages to the families through their platforms to reinforce our own reopening messages. And given the impacts of the pandemic on the hospitality industry, more families are in dire straits than ever before. And so the potential audience is even bigger. We'll work with our agency partners this summer to facilitate registration for any new families that they may now be serving. And the garden will continue to track usage, train staff, and strive to grow meaningful relationships with our Garden for All families.
Hi, I'm Lynn Bates. I'm the Vice President for External Relations at Marie Selby Botanical Gardens. Marie Selby Botanical Gardens is located in Sarasota, Florida. In fact, we're just about 2 hours north of Naples Botanical Garden and have a very similar community makeup. Of our 500,000 residents in Sarasota County, many of them are retirees or second homeowners. The community also has a large arts and cultural base, nonprofit sector, and is very tourism driven. We also know that there's a great need in Sarasota. In fact, 50% of students in the Sarasota County public school system are on free or reduced lunches. We know we wanted to connect them to our 2 campuses. Selby Gardens has 2 campuses. The first is located in downtown Sarasota and was opened in 1975. This bayfront 15-acre gardens welcomes more than 231,000 visitors annually and has a membership base of 14,000 member households. Our historic Spanish Point campus is located 10 miles south of our downtown Sarasota campus and is 30 acres on Sarasota Bayfront. We welcome more than 25,000 annual visitors and have a membership base of 750 member households.
Hi everybody, I'm Wendy Deming and I am Chief Operating Officer at Marie Selby Botanical Gardens. Our My Garden program was actually started about 3 years ago with our Family Togetherness program. This was our initial attempt as a botanical garden to reach out to the underserved in our community. And how we started this progress was by identifying key events that took place throughout the year that we thought would be great for underserved families to come and visit the gardens, such as our Halloween Spooktacular, Lights in Bloom at the winter holidays, and then spring events as well. And they were great successes. We had lots of underserved, particularly students in Title I schools, come and visit the gardens. But what we also found out was that we were excluding a lot of families who might not have been able to come to the gardens on the particular Saturday that we had it open for our family togetherness partners. So we knew that there was more that we could do. And when we decided to expand a membership program to more underserved, we reached out to our partner, Gulf Coast Community Foundation in Venice, Florida, and worked with them to identify 8 youth-serving organizations in Sarasota County, such as Boys and Girls Club, Girls Inc., local community centers. And we started conversations with them about how we could engage more of their students, their clients, in with Selby Gardens. So what we decided was to provide each of those youth-serving organizations with 25 household memberships that they could give away to the clients that they decided would most benefit from those memberships. These 25 family memberships are a little bit unique from our traditional family memberships in that they're more for households, because we know that families of underserved look a lot different in most cases than your typical middle class or upper class family. So we wanted to make sure that everybody in the household had the opportunity to visit Selby Gardens. So we expanded those to include 7 members of a household could use the My Garden membership. The membership will automatically renew provided that the family uses the membership at least 3 times in a year, and as long as they are still working with the youth-serving organization that was originally nominated them to receive this membership. And not only did Gulf Coast help us identify these youth-serving organizations, but the Community Foundation also funded the first year of the launch of My Garden. So we were able to officially launch My Garden for the 2019-2020 school year. We originally planned on 250 household memberships, but we expanded it due to great demand to 275. And those 275 household members represent about 2% of our total membership. Lynn mentioned our second campus, the historic Spanish Point campus, which is about 10 miles south of our downtown campus. We're looking to expand My Garden even further with organizations that are closer in proximity to our historic Spanish Point campus. So we're looking at probably adding another 200 memberships or so this next year to our My Garden program. During the first year of the program, and granted it was a limited year because we closed in March due to COVID, but we had some families that visited the gardens as many as 10 times in the first year using their My Garden household membership. We were absolutely thrilled and knew that we were meeting a need, because once you come to the gardens, you realize what a place of respite it can be, a place to create memories with your household. And we just knew that it was success by having that number of visits off of one household membership. And over the course of the 6 or 7 months that we were open during this time, we had nearly 1,000 visits as a result of the My Garden membership program. In January, we invited representatives of all the youth-serving organizations that were our partners to come and sit down with us and talk with us about what we could do to help their clients understand the benefit that they have in receiving this household membership. So we are making changes to the My Garden program as a result of that feedback from our agency partners. We submitted our grant report recently with Gulf Coast Community Foundation and are hoping for additional funding next year because of the great results that we have had with the first year of the My Garden program. And now I will turn it over to my colleague Leslie Myers with the Atlanta Botanical Garden.
Thanks, Lynn and Wendy. Hi, I'm Leslie Myers. I'm the Vice President of Institutional Advancement at the Atlanta Botanical Garden. Our garden was established in 1976 by a group of driven volunteers who believed that our city needed a botanical garden. They were successful in securing a spot on city land, and today the garden continues as a private leaseholder within the city of Atlanta. A little more than 40 years is a short timeline for growth, but today the Atlanta Botanical Garden is known as an urban oasis in the heart of our city, with something to offer visitors of every age and in every season. Last year, we welcomed 780,000 visitors and topped more than 45,000 member households. Unlike most major cities across the United States, Atlanta has no public funding for arts and culture. As a result, admission rates to our cultural institutions are higher than our peers in other cities. Not surprisingly, this creates barriers to access the important work and offerings that we all do for our community. As is the case for so many of us, the Garden has been very fortunate to have tremendous support from many generous donors. And through stewardship conversations with one of Atlanta's central foundations, we had the opportunity to dream a bit and conceive a way to open our doors a little wider, to welcome a segment of our community for which the admission price is an impediment to access. We have programs in place that reach families in our community in a lower income bracket. And in contrast, we know that the average household income of our visitors approaches $100,000 annually. Our aim was to create a program to provide access and meaningful engagement to a swath of our community who fall within the lower middle income socioeconomic bracket. So after much thoughtful conversation, we conceptualized what would become the Explore Family Membership Program. This program would offer Family Garden memberships to all current employees of some of the most central organizations to our city, reaching our teachers, our firefighters, police officers, our nurses, and so many more. Our partner organizations are Atlanta Public Schools, City of Atlanta, Grady Health Systems, and MARTA. Membership would be free the first year and offered at a greatly reduced rate in years 2 and 3. We submitted our proposal, were funded, and opened enrollment 5 months later. Response on day 1 of enrollment was absolutely robust. At the end of the first enrollment period, an unprecedented 43% of all eligible employees enrolled, which was more than 10,000 households. Of course, not unexpectedly, enrollment did take a bit of a dip in years 2 and 3 with the $20 charge, but still maintained around 5,000 member households or more, greater in year 3 than in year 2. And we learned a great deal. We quickly learned that we would need to work with each partner organization uniquely to activate communication with their employees. We streamlined the staff support. And we came to see just how much this program offered value to our partner organizations and to the Garden. We welcomed members from zip codes we did not often see. Through instituting this program, our membership has begun to more closely resemble the demographic makeup of our city. Additionally, today, 43% of our visitors are non-white. The program has been a great success. It's become a part of who we are, and it's our aim to continue it into the future. Thanks. Lori?
Thanks, Leslie. Real quickly, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Wildflower Center. We are located in Austin, Texas, just south of downtown in a suburban area. We are affiliated with the University of Texas at Austin, and our campus is 284 acres, featuring 900 species of Texas native plants. Annually, we welcome 200,000 guests, and we have a member household count of 13,500. And like Selby Gardens, we had select free admission days, but noticed that our everyday guest was not representative of the greater community, leading us to conclude, without formal research, that our pricing is perhaps a barrier to some Austinites. And we had already surmised that transportation was a challenge because of our suburban location with no public transportation. So what did the Wildflower Center do? Based on our needs, we chose to implement a combination of the examples you have now learned of. It's a combination of the direct to public, similar to what Franklin Park has talked about, as well as the community partners that you saw from Marie Selby and Naples Botanic Gardens. Our family access membership is available to the qualifying public through those assistance programs, and our partnerships with 3 to 6 community partners who also identify clients to receive these access memberships, and who may or may not, depending on the program, also bring their clients to the center on this membership, addressing that transportation barrier. For example, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Texas is one of our community partners, and the bigs bring the littles and use the Big Brothers Big Sisters membership to access the gardens. This program is managed by the membership and the development team here at the Wildflower Center, and it was originally planned to launch in Q1 of 2020, just as the COVID crisis and national shutdown was occurring. So it is our goal to launch again, or launch for the first time, in Q2 or Q3, whenever we are once again able to open to walk-up ticket sales. This concludes our panel presentation, and hopefully you're now better equipped to consider an Access membership for your garden. Now we'll take some questions. Hi, everyone. Not sure if you can hear me. We're going to go ahead and do the second poll that we didn't have time for during the presentation. So let me launch that poll about what's the biggest barrier that you might have to reaching underserved audiences. And while I give that a second to go, we can start thinking about the questions that we had. The first one that came in related to how we conducted audience research to determine if visitors matched our community. And I know that both Franklin Park and Naples had some thoughts on that. So let's start with Heather from Franklin Park.
Yes, thank you. We collect zip code data from all of our guests as they arrive. And so we were very interested in reaching the folks in our immediate neighborhood. And so we were comparing the percentage of those zip codes to our total zip code coverage.
And Britt from Naples, did you want to talk about how y'all do it differently?
Certainly. So, and Kara can actually speak a little bit better to this since she was involved in the process, but we did contract an outside agency to conduct audience research for us over the course of many months. And it was definitely eye-opening, and it produced data that we refer back to on a continual basis.
Yes, we used an agency out of Chicago, and they did some on-the-ground surveys and also some digital surveys that helped reach some audience members in the community that hadn't been familiar with the garden. We really learned a lot from the survey.
And Lynn, did you have some input from Marie Selby?
Sorry, I muted it on my phone, not on there. Sorry about that. We also collect zip codes, data similar to what you all do at Franklin Park Conservatory, but we also work with our community agencies and organizations to identify gaps and needs and see how we can align that way.
Great. Another question we have is, what is the renewal rate, or is it higher or lower with these access programs? And I know, Heather, I think your program of all of our panelists has been in place the longest. Do you want to answer that for us?
Sure, I can follow up with more data later, but I believe that our renewal rates are very similar to other membership categories. I think the only thing that's significant data-wise about our Access membership program is that we've just seen such a large spike in the amount of Access memberships that we've been selling lately. The data that I provided at the time of recording, I think we were around 800, and I think we're close to 1,000 right now, just in the last few weeks.
Great. We have a question asking about a specific, maybe communities or races. Have you directed any of your efforts or to interest members of the Indigenous American community? Has anyone in the panel targeted specific communities or audiences like that? Getting a lot of shaking heads. Okay. Amy from MSU Horticulture asks, we are hoping to expand our membership perks to encourage more membership. What tools do you utilize for tracking the attendance and the card usage for these Access membership programs? Should we go to Atlanta Leslie?
Sure. We use the Razor's Edge for our constituent database, and when members come to visit the garden, then we scan their card. That's tracked as an action, and we can look at that data from there. We know that our Explorer members do visit the garden about as frequently as our new members do. We also know that time is of the essence for them, and breaking away and getting to the garden is what they tell us is the greatest barrier to come to the garden.
Here's a funding question. How did you find funding for these programs, and what types of research did you do to secure funding? Anyone want to volunteer for that one? All right, Wendy.
We worked with, like I said, our local community foundation, Gulf Coast Community Foundation, from the very start, and talked with them about how the program would be structured, because they really understand the organizations that are serving the population, the underserved population in our community. So bringing them in at the very beginning was helpful, because then they had buy-in and were invested in the program. And when we decided to launch, they were an obvious choice to approach for funding. They're an incredibly supportive partner. So we're just, we're fortunate to have a community foundation like that in our region.
Great. Two popular questions that have been voted up to the top have to do with transportation. Have any of the panelists had to deal with lack of public transportation to their garden? And if yes, how do you manage that? And then the second question is our biggest barrier is transportation. Have any of the presenters partnered with local transit authorities or other cultural organizations to have special bus routes to your gardens? And how has this been funded? I can go ahead and just answer from the Wildflower Center's point of view. We are about 7 miles away from downtown with no public transportation to our gardens. We're in a very residential area, and it has been a huge challenge for us in terms of audience diversity with the lack of transportation. So as I mentioned in the presentation, one of the things that we're doing with this Access membership is trying to partner with community organizations who can assist with that transportation need, in that, you know, they can bring their clients or their community members directly to the center, maybe not with a bus, but as individuals. Does anybody else have that same problem with transportation, or y'all?
I can just talk about Naples Botanical Garden. We are fortunate to be on a bus route, and our neighborhood, in walking distance, we have a lot of Garden for All families that can make it to the garden on foot. But we've been working with our Collier area transit. We're now featured on the map, and plan to do some advertising with them in the future to reach them directly.
Another question that's come up is the training. Would anyone like to elaborate on the training for your staff, and was the training successful, and how to deal with the Access memberships, or maybe this particular audience?
I can talk a little bit about what we did in Naples. So it was definitely a series of conversations, starting with, staff meetings and things like that, introducing the program. And as Kara mentioned in her part of the presentation, just generating staff buy-in across all departments was really important. Personally, I think it did highlight some, gaps where we do have some need for more education among staff about, about being a mission-based organization, and what our mission is to serve everyone. And, we could see very clearly that we weren't serving everyone. So, and then there was, of course, the other part of training too with, I would say, it wasn't so much training as it was making sure that the right departments were involved in the conversation about launching the program. Kara and I are in different departments. She's in development, I'm in education. But of course, we needed membership and ticketing to be at the table too, in discussing how the logistics of launching the program. So it's continually evolving, and we also had many staff from different departments there for launch day, and we were all wearing the same uniform that day, which I think was really important for our team.
Another question is, do your Access membership programs include all of the same benefits as your traditional memberships, i.e. Reciprocal admission or discounts, et cetera? And I know I can speak for the Wildflower Center and say that yes, that is our intent, is to make it look almost identical it's the same card, same type of, level of membership, the family level, and same benefits. We're not holding anything back. And Wendy, yes.
I'll just add that, and there's also a question there, are there any extra perks? And for our My Garden program members, they are allowed to, we have one night with our Lights in Bloom winter holiday celebration that they can get into for free, because it is a separate paid admission. For most other families and members get a discount, but those in the My Garden program do get in for free, because we know that that would be a barrier for a lot of them.
And this person is asking what kind of controls do you have over the verification of the qualifying eligibility to participate in this program? Atlanta, maybe Leslie, do you have any thoughts?
Sure. We talked about that a great deal as we were building this program and conceptualizing it, and working with 4 distinct partner organizations worked really well for us. And ultimately, we envisioned the program that we would be able to just send a mailing out to all the employees of each of the partner organizations. They would fill it out and send it back. And we quickly learned that was not feasible for any of the organizations, really. So we had to do a lot of on-site marketing and then have signups happen through a promo code. And at the end of the day, we decided to come back to the spirit of the program. The goal of the Explore program was to reach a lower middle income demographic. And, whether an employee left that partner organization during the tenure of their membership or not, we just decided to not worry about that at all, because what mattered most is that we were reaching the target audience. And so 3 years in, I think that approach has worked well for us, and I think we'll continue that into the future as well.
Thank you. Someone's asking if we offer free admission days or times in general. I think we can, I know the Wildflower Center does, and as I mentioned, that we do see an increase in attendance, certainly in diversity on those free days. Which is what led us to believe that maybe the price is a significant barrier, and which is one of the contributing reasons we wanted to participate in an Access membership program. Does anyone else have any thoughts on free days versus a low-cost membership? Leslie?
We actually offered a free Thursday afternoon 18 years ago and decided to sunset that program because we didn't feel like it was reaching the audience that we wanted. So when we had the opportunity to do this program, membership felt like the most engaging, meaningful way to reach a new audience. Then, as the universe would have it, we sadly lost a dear friend of the garden, a lifetime trustee at the beginning of this year. And in her memory, we had a corporate sponsor come forward and wanted to offer a week of free admission to the garden, which was something we had not ever done. And response was robust. We had 40,000 visitors that week. It was tremendous. Most of them, half of those came on the weekend. And we were able to capture some demographic data on that audience. And what we found, interestingly enough, is that it was a slightly more racially diverse audience, but the average household income was not actually statistically significantly different than our average visitor. And so our takeaway from that is that a program like what we're doing right now with Explore really helps us to reach a targeted audience that we're seeking, whereas free admission for us in this instance really helped us reach visitors that in some ways mirrored our current visitor base.
Do any of the gardens have an issue with perhaps abuse of the program? They don't officially qualify, but somehow they're receiving the discounted membership? Getting some shaking heads, so I'm going to say no. And a lot of us are now using time ticketing as a way to reopen and enter the gardens. I'm not sure how many of us have reopened. I know the Wildflower Center has. And have you tweaked your time ticketing software to enable those with less means to attend, and if so, how? Anyone? Wendy, yes.
We're not using time ticketing. We have reopened, but we're in Florida. The summer months are our slower months. So when we were reopening, we didn't think it was necessary to go to time ticketing.
And I know some of you did do a great deal of research before implementing this program. This question is, are you communicating with these communities and community organizations to learn what they want? You know, what type of membership program they might want. Yes, Lynn. Still can't hear you.
We certainly are communicating with them. Pre-COVID, we did bring them together for some lunches to sit and chat about things that we could do differently or ways that we could make them feel more engaged with Selby Gardens and with what they were doing. So we're looking to communicate with them even more deeply as we go on with the program and schedule things specifically for them so that the members in their groups can be more connected as well. So we certainly appreciate the feedback and ask for it voluntarily.
Okay, great. That's all the time we have for this session. If you'd like the discussion to keep the discussion going, please click the live discussions tab on the conference website and start a topic. We'd like to thank our presenters and all of you for being a part of today's session. Please stay with us for 2 short announcements from the association. At 3:05 Eastern, you'll have the difficult choice of 3 more wonderful concurrent sessions on pollinators, ecosystem restoration, and climate action before our special final session of the day, Idea Cafe. Thanks again for coming.
Good morning from the Jensen Olson Arboretum in Juneau, Alaska, on the shores of Alaska's Inside Passage.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Beck, Director of Programs and Education for the Association, and here to talk to you for a moment about the Association's Program Selection Committee. Every year, committee members work hard during the fall and winter, poring over each session submissions and making the tough decisions about which ones are going to make the cut for the annual conference. They play an enormous role in our conference experience. For this year's conference, we reviewed 141 proposals and approved 79 of them. And then we started the conference planning all over again this spring. We couldn't present every session we would have liked to. We simply didn't have time available. Some of our presenters weren't able to make the transition to an online role. Still others, unfortunately, found themselves separated from their gardens. And we also wanted to be sure that when we put together content for this virtual conference, that it would really represent the new reality in which we find ourselves, a changed world. I hope you will agree with me that they did a terrific job making this virtual conference relevant and timely. So at this time, I'd like to give a special recognition to the members of this committee and to our chair, Clayton Bass, for his and their service and dedication to their important role. From all of us here watching, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cynthia Druckenbrode, Chairman of the Council of Communities for the Association. The Association's 21 professional communities are groups of garden professionals from across the public horticulture industry. I'd like to thank all of the volunteer chairs and vice chairs of our association communities for their hard work and dedication throughout the year. The community forums on the association website are places where you can exchange ideas and information with your fellow garden professionals. Many of them have had informative town hall meetings in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, sharing experiences and best practices. Community members also get informative, targeted newsletters every month with upcoming professional development opportunities and recently added resources to the Association Library and Media Center. You will also find these when you log in onto the Association website and are directed to the member dashboard. Usually, these groups would be having their annual meetings at the conference, but this year, those meetings will be virtual and they will be taking place across July and August. If you are a member of a professional community, thank you. Be active in your community. If you're not, please consider joining one or more of them. It's easy. Just go to the association website, publicgardens.org, and log in using your work email address. You'll find yourself on the member dashboard where you can find links to join a professional community. Enjoy.